Hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to continue our COLREGS in-depth series and look at Rule 5, Lookout. As always, we're going to look at the rule itself and then apply that in a couple of different situations. So Rule 5, Lookout. Rule 5 is actually one of the most important rules that there is. Every vessel needs to be applying this all of the time. This is what's going to enable you to apply the rest of the collision regulations. You need to be able to keep a proper lookout so then you know what's going on. Every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as by all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions, so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. So a couple of the main points. You need to be keeping a lookout at all times. There's no getting away from that. If you're not keeping a lookout at all times, you're in contravention of the rules. That lookout has to be mainly by sight and hearing. Those two are referenced specifically in the rule. Again, if you're not doing either of those things, you're in contravention of the rules. As well as by all available means, means you can lump in every other means that you've got at your disposal on that bridge, but sight and hearing need to take priority. And what you're looking to get is a full appraisal of the situation, not just the risk of collision. So in all the other rules where we're looking at action in collision situations, we've needed to work out if risk of collision exists, and if so, take action. But keeping a lookout, you need the full appraisal of the situation, as well as the risk of collision. So looking at Rule 5 on the bridge of a ship, we're going to label up forward ahead and aft behind, and we're going to place an officer of the watch perched on one of the chairs in the centre in front of a radar screen. This is probably a pretty typical image on the bridge of most ships. Now what does that officer do? My guess is they'll look out to port for a little bit, then they'll look out to starboard for a little bit, and then they'll return to looking at the radar screen in the centre. They're looking ahead, they can see where the ship's going, but they're not keeping a proper lookout. Let's see why. That officer's based on this container ship. He's travelling along quite happily, he's looking ahead of him, can't see anything, so he's in clear water, he's clear to keep going, looking a bit to port, a bit to starboard. But, by doing so, he's missed the great big passenger ship that's coming up on his port quarter. The only time he'd be aware of this is if it shows up on the radar screen, or when it pulls a beam of him. He's not kept a proper lookout, he's not got a full appraisal of the situation, he doesn't know everything that's going on around his vessel. How could he have got round this though? As well as looking out from side to side, all he would have to do is just get up from his chair every now and then and just have a walk around the bridge. He's looking out astern of him. When he's looking astern, he sees the other vessel that's coming up on his port quarter. He needs to be keeping that lookout across the full 360 degrees of the horizon. He needs to know everything that's going on ahead of him as well as behind him. Just looking ahead isn't enough. Looking at the radar screen isn't enough. You need to be looking out in all directions. When he's looking out in all directions, of course, he'll be travelling along quite happily, and then at the first possible moment, he'll see that other ship coming. He'll see that he's going to need to take action. In this case, it will be the action of a stand-on vessel, so he would just need to maintain his course and speed unless the other vessel didn't take action. But what else could keeping a proper lookout involve? Let's have a look down at the container ship itself. If we place the officer of the watch on the bridge, and we assume he's keeping a proper lookout, he's looking to port, to starboard, behind him, he's listening out, he's using his radar and all other electronic means. What else could he do? For example, in restricted visibility, if that visibility's come down and he can no longer see far in front of him, he's going to need to post additional lookouts up forward. This is all part of that vessel maintaining a proper lookout. Where, for example, Rule 19 says that you need to adapt to restricted vis when applying the other rules, this would be a good example, posting extra lookouts at the forward part of the ship so that you can try and get that full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. And that brings us to the end of Rule 5, Lookout. We've seen how important this rule is. I cannot stress enough the importance of this rule and the fact that it applies regardless of what's going on. Rule 5 will always be applying, and anyone going up for the exams is going to be tested on this, and you're going to need to know it inside out. I hope you found the information in this video useful. If you have, a thumbs up is always appreciated. If you want to keep up to date with future videos that I'm going to post, hit that subscribe button. If you've got any Questions, just leave them in the comments below. Until next time, thank you for watching, and goodbye.